let's talk about the types of musical theater. There are five. There might be some other types, but these are the main ones. And maybe there are some musicals that are having combination of any of the five, and that's okay. That's fine. The first is book musicals. Book musical is one of the traditional musicals with a story that drives the music and characters. Now, it's not called book musicals because the musical is from a book. No. Phantom of the Opera is from a book, but it's not a book musical mainly, but it could be a part book musical, but it has a different category. It has a story from the beginning until the end. They're singing their stories. This category includes Cats, Rent, Annie, The Book of Mormon, because it has a book in the title, and Oklahoma. But I chose The West Side Story. The West Side Story is written by Arthur Lawrence, an American playwright, and it's a jazzy classical musical in which modern day Romeo and Juliet, Tony, and Maria are involved in New York street gangs, jets, and sharks. You might have already watched some Bring It On or other um, movies with jets and sharks, and mainly it's because of the Romeo and Juliet theme in this West Side Story. It's the origin of that Jets and Sharks. Now, it's a 1957 tryout performed in Washington, D.C., and then years later, it was performed in Broadway as a big show, big production. The setting is in Upper West Side, New York, and it's a conflict between the Sharks and the Jets, Sharks being the Puerto Ricans, and Jets, New Yorkers. The next is review musicals. Reviews are a collection of songs with a common element. This category has no definite shows dedicated to them, but they are still a part of the musical theater genre. This can include a musical review of composers of musicals or a well known actress or actors. One of them is Ain't Misbehavin', and this is the show that brings life to the whole world that Fats Waller lived in and largely represented the Harlem in the 30s. The golden age of places like the Cotton Club, the honky tonk divers along Lenox Avenue, of rent parties, of striped piano players, and the new beat, swing. In a deceptively simple but dazzling set that suggests all at once a Harlem nightclub stage, a Harlem street, the 30s radios, a giant jukebox, Ain't Misbehavin' evokes a whole sense of jazz worlds. Up, down, and downtown, raffish and posh, funny and startlingly beautiful. And the atmosphere of the 20s, 30s, and 40s is evoked rather than recreated. Concept musicals. A concept musical is where the metaphor or theme is equally or more important than the musical itself. It may comment on a social injustice. There may be dissociated plot outline or unacquainted characters. Categories include The Last 5 Years, Allegro, Follies, and Love Life. But I chose Company. It is a 1970 musical comedy with music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim and book by George Firth. The original production was nominated for a record-setting 14 Tony Awards and won 6. The notion, a man with no emotional commitment reassesses his life on his 35th birthday by reviewing his relationships with his married acquaintances and his girlfriend. That's it. That's like the story, but there's no plot outline. There's no beginning, there's no ending, it's just a concept. That's why it's called a concept musical. Next is a jukebox musical. Collection of songs from a group or artist is called a jukebox musical. These musicals may not have a storyline, but some really do have storyline, but they're created to showcase a performance. Category is Mamma Mia, the music of ABBA, Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash, Rock of Ages, glam rock of the 80s, and Come Fly Away by Frank Sinatra. I chose to show you the Rock of Ages. It's a jukebox musical built around classic rock songs from the 80s, especially from the famous glam metal bands of the decade. The musical features songs from Styx, Journey, Bon Jovi, Pat Benatar, Twisted Sister, Steve Perry, Poison in Europe, among other well-known rock bands. This story follows a small-town girl and a city boy chasing their dreams and falling in love in LA in 1987. Sounds familiar? Yes, it's the song Don't Stop Believing. I already dropped you a foreshadowing last time because that's what I chose for our last topic. It was written by Chris Diorenzo, directed by Kristen Hanji, and choreographed by Kelly DeVine, with music supervision, arrangements, and orchestrations by Ethan The last one is rock or pop musicals. This one, the use of rock or pop music to further the story, usually with little to no dialogue. This what makes Rock of Ages not a rock or pop musical because it had a lot of dialogues, like not singing dialogues or lines. This category includes such amazing works as Grease, The Little Shop of Horrors, Godspell, and The Phantom of the Opera, and Next to Normal. But I chose the latest. Yep, Hamilton. Hamilton is an American musical which is sung and rapped through a musical about the life of American founding father Alexander Hamilton. It's the lyrics and music is by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it's inspired by 2004 biography Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. The Broadway premiere was in 2015, but it was first presented in 2013 at the Vassar College in New York and off-Broadway, and then 2 years later, they got accepted to perform in Broadway. Life in American history, that's the focus of, or the theme of this musical, and the setting is in New York, 1776. All right, the other characters that you will love, Aaron Burr, John Lawrence, Marquis de Lafayette, and of course, the Schuyler sisters. I am not throwing away my shot! And here are my references. I hope to see you guys again. So yeah, that's it for lessons 1 and 2. One is the introduction to musical theater, and of course the second one is the musical theater types. Now I'm going to be showing you a video of my favorite Tony Awards opening performed by Neil Patrick Harris, and of course with a cast of different Broadway musicals. And what I need you to do is try to list down all the Broadway musicals that are mentioned and part of that opening number.
All right. It's only this next singer's 4th time singing in this pub, so cut him some slack. He's singing something new.
Hi. I'm Neil. I wouldn't be here if someone else hadn't passed on hosting, so special thanks to Shia LaBeouf for this opportunity. I can break your heart with a work of art and a song that's quiet and small. But we're back where we began it all. Radio City Music Hall. So tonight we might go Bigger. That's right, it's bigger. It's Broadway's greatest night and we're raring to go. Let's make it bigger. Tonight it's bigger. Who will take home a Tony statue? We don't know. I guarantee a truly legendary show. Season's new recruits include a cast of kinky boots. You know they're beautiful and buff as Navy SEALs. And you could bounce a quarter off the ass of Billy Porter. Lord, he does 8 shows a week in 8-inch heels. Hats off to Berry Gordy, he runs Motown like a boss. He dominates top 40 and he banged Diana Ross. He wrote his own libretto, which is really kind of ballin'. He took every Motown classic and he said, I'll put them all in. Make it bigger. That's right, it's bigger. I just learned this dance like half an hour ago. We're going bigger, like so much bigger. You ever seen so many divas in a row? Well, stick with me, cause your MC's a seasoned pro. It's Pippin, never flippin', always slippin'. He's flying for his corner of the sky. But the sky is overcrowded with his oh so highly touted cast of singing circus people flying by. The cast of Bring It On had count them 32 debuts. Hey kids, welcome to Broadway, don't forget your union dues. In tandem like we planned them, forgive me if it's random, but Mike Tyson had a one-man show. Let's give the man a hand and make things bigger. I'm here with Iron Mike, he's a heavyweight, yo. We're going bigger. The night is bigger. We've got cheerleaders, contortionists, and so hey, he'll go a Fred Sports Bar, change the channel to our show. Go, Neil, go! Magical Matildas ran the show and nearly killed us, so they got a special Tony of their own. The strikes at the Achilles of the jaded former Billies. They get Tonys but get fired when they're grown. Now here's the kids from Christmas Story, Annie and her orphans. So many child actors high on Red Bull and endorphins. They barely come up to your knees, but God, they're singing like MVPs, and they're the reason this whole season seems to look like Chuck E. Cheese. And geez, it's bigger. That's right, it's bigger. Is there a Tony daycare where all of you go? You're getting bigger. The night is bigger. Do your parents set aside your Broadway dough? When I play Doogie, never mind, on with the show. Oh, Broadway's where famous people go. Though being famous doesn't mean that you will get a good review. So Alec, write Ben Brantley if you want, that's entertaining too. We've got magic to do. Bigger. That's right, it's bigger. I'm walking down the aisle with some newsies in tow. Yeah, no, it's bigger. So much bigger. If there's a newsie you prefer, please let me know. You'll get a newsie in your gift bag when you go. That's true. That's true. There's like 150 of those punks. Oh, wait, check this out. Can I have my Tom Hooper Les Mis close-up, please? See, on Broadway, we don't need extreme close-ups to prove we're singing live. We sing live 8 shows a week. Check it. At the end of the day, we are gathered together to honor the best and the brightest. And tomorrow, the fashion police will report on your dress and who wore it the tightest. If you win, have the time of your life. Tell your manager, dad, and your mom thanks. Hi to your kids and your husband or wife, maybe just for the hell of it, Tom Hanks. Nothing is bigger and better than seeing a veteran get an ovation, or seeing a brilliant beginner freak out on a win on their first nomination. There's a kid in the middle of nowhere who's sitting there living for Tony performances, singing and flipping along with the Pippins and Wickets and Kinkies, Matildas, and Mormonses. So we might reassure that kid and do something to spur that kid, because I promise you, all of us up here tonight, we were that kid, and now we're bigger. Tonight it's bigger. So let's create the biggest spectacle we know. Come see the the super sexy Cinderella sisters celebrating. Ladies, grab a fella. The tempo is accelerating. Spidey, Pippin, Motown fans, and Kinky Rock of Ages. Chicago, bring it on. A Christmas Story sharing stages. Mamma Mia and Lion King, the Jersey Boys are. Kathy Lee's a Broadway lyricist, so anything can happen. Bigger, New York is bigger. So welcome to our bigger.